Now, I'm sure you've seen all the videos beating various Pokemon games with things like the map, the Pokemon, and sometimes even everything at once random. And on May 9th, 2022, I tried to do the same, except I randomized everything: the Pokemon, moves, items, and map all at once. But why am I only making this video just now? And the only real reason is, I just couldn't beat it. Because the challenge is actually pretty simple. All I have to do is find all 8 gyms, the Elite Four, and Champion, and beat them in order. But I failed this challenge time and time again, each time getting closer than the last, usually thinking I had explored every location in the game, but still being just a gym or 2 away from completing it. So I deleted all the footage and pushed the idea out of my mind. So you may be wondering, what did I just watch then? And that is all from recent, when I decided to over a year later redeem the challenge and finish what I started last summer. I got through all the intro stuff, named myself Mad K and my rival Bad K, when finally it was time to choose my starter, and took the very clear and only option, Squirtle. And in all honesty, this choice does not matter in the slightest, but you will see why later. For now, I am finally able to enter my first randomized location of the run, and this is where the game gets both exciting and very scary, because as you see here, I walked into one door which led me to a room with 3 warp pads, each a separate loading zone, one of which took me to a seemingly random office building, but it has 4 floors, each with anywhere from 2 to 4 more loading zones, making it extremely easy to get overwhelmed. But I tried not to let it get to me, taking each door one by one and writing down all the notable locations, like this door that led me to Floaroma Town. However, instead of exploring that whole building right now, I decided to move on to complete the rest of the beginning of the game and, most importantly, get some Pokeballs. While I was there, I figured I might as well go into all the buildings in the town, because while a lot of them can lead to new places like Sunyshore City, they are all just as likely to lead to the house of the Berry Master or something like that. Unfortunately, this only led me to another problem, that being that I only had a level 5 Squirtle, meaning when I entered places like Eterna Forest, I had to just turn around and leave. Only problem with that being, there is a loading zone at the end of the forest, and more than likely it's something useless like the Berry Master, but for all I know, it could be the champion. But for now, there was nothing I could do other than try to find some stronger Pokemon, which was really not a problem at all, because one of the doors in the office building led me to the Fuego Ironworks, where I caught a level 29 Flying and Dragon-type Staravia to help me through some of these battles. I kept exploring every door of that office building when things started to get overwhelming, to say the least, with one door leading to Oreburgh City, another leading to Canalave City, and I still hadn't even explored Floaroma Town. So I figured I just had to start somewhere and began exploring every door on the right side of Canalave City, as it is separated by this bridge which has a rival battle on it that is much too strong for me right now and we'll come back to later. However, I did find some pretty important locations in Canalave, getting my first Pokemon Center inside the Pokemart. Unfortunately, the entrance of the Pokemon Center led to Pastoria City, another overwhelmingly large town. I then moved one building downward, which led to another Pokemon Center, and the entrance was Jubilife City. The next stream I finished exploring Oreburgh City, or at least I thought so, and frankly I had no idea the troubles that this town would cause me later on, but for now all I found was an entrance to Veilstone City, but this was basically how the rest of the challenge went. Every town is just about the same and I explored each one by one. I started with, of course, Veilstone City, where I found the 5th gym and away to the left side of Canalave. There, I found the 2nd member of the Elite Four, as well as a door to Route 226, where I found and miraculously caught a level 50 Pikachu. Next up was Sunyshore City, which didn't really have much other than a cave back to Oreburgh City, which led me to Veilstone. And you may be thinking, this challenge doesn't seem so hard. You just have to walk into a bunch of buildings and eventually you'll beat it. But just you wait. Veilstone City only had a way to get to this little mini town on Route 213, but more importantly, Salation Town, which I began exploring right away and found the first member of the Elite Four, as well as one of the most important locations so far, the encounter for Darkrai inside of the Pokemon Daycare. But I literally only had one regular Pokeball, which just wasn't going to catch this thing, so I decided to move on until I could get some more Pokeballs in somewhere like the department store. Yeah, I have to come back when I have Pokeballs. There's no way I'm gonna catch it. Oh my god, it's this department store? No way, bro. Dude, that's so clutch. Yeah, the building right next to the Darkrai encounter was a loading zone to the department store, so I naturally started exploring all the various locations inside because with 5 floors it had a lot, and found the most important location of the game, the first gym, which I of course decided to take on immediately, getting me the first badge. Inside the department store, I found a door to the old chateau, a building with 5 different loading zones and another place that would at least eliminate a few locations, but within it I found something that I was not expecting. Mew? Except it's actually Arceus? I had found the Arceus encounter, the highest level Pokemon within the game, and it had randomized to a Mew. Only problem, I still didn't have any Pokeballs. But remembering that just seconds ago in the door that led to where I was standing was an item that randomized to a Quick Ball, and with some admittedly crazy luck I caught it on the second try. I finished exploring the rest of the department store and bought some Pokeballs so I could go back and catch the Darkrai from earlier, marking the end of my exploration in Salation Town, when I moved on to the Route 215 gate where I would find the 6th gym. Now, with a level 80 Mew and level 50 Darkrai, nothing could stop me, and I quickly breezed through Pastoria City and the fight area where I found a loading zone to Hearthome City, which I began exploring immediately, not finding much important, but did find Palkia and Dialga, but decided not to catch them just yet. At this point, I had found every single major town in the game with the exception of Celestic Town and Eterna City, but I was sure I would stumble across them eventually. After all, I still hadn't explored Floaroma, Pastoria, Jubilife, or Snowpoint. So I did just that, finding the 4th gym in this building in Jubilife, the 7th gym and 3rd member of the Elite Four in Veilstone City, as well as the 8th gym in Valley Windworks, right next to Floaroma Town. Additionally, while I was exploring Jubilife, I found what I thought was a door to Celestic Town, the last major town in the game other than Eterna City, and since I thought I had explored everything else, I figured that the locations I was missing had to be in one of these 2 towns. But it turned out that when I beat the Team Galactic member standing in my way of access to the town, he didn't move, locking me out. And I felt like I should have everything I needed. I had explored every town and the locations leading off of them, but I still had the 2nd and 3rd gym to find, as well as the 4th Elite Four member and Cynthia. Yet I had nowhere else to explore. Now, this is where things started to switch from mindlessly exploring towns, hoping to find all of the gyms, to a mental game, wondering if the challenge was even possible or if it was bugged with a crucial location locked behind an HM that I couldn't even use yet. Except this time, I persisted, thinking it had to be possible and that this couldn't be just like my many other attempts prior, giving up when the challenge got tough. And where I would have usually just reset, I instead went back to the beginning and began deeply exploring every single location. But this time, when I went to a route, I would look up the map to make sure there was no loading zones I was missing. The beginning of my backtracking was immediately successful, going into the Lake Verity entrance, but with stronger Pokemon allowing me to defeat Cyrus, giving me access to another loading zone, which was the Bike Shop, which may not sound like much, but is crucial. Because in my exploring of Canalave, I remembered that the place I caught the level 50 Pikachu earlier was a route that was blocked by these stones that you need a bike to jump over, opening up a couple more loading zones that were admittedly underwhelming. Also, in Canalave, I found a building that led me to Mount Coronet, which had a loading zone that I completely missed, that took me to none other than Celestic Town. All my problems were solved, or some of them at least. I had found one of the major towns that would include one of the gyms or Elite Four members to move me along. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I continued exploring, finding it really hard to keep going into places I knew I'd already been to, only to not find anything new, when I made it to Oreburgh City and began entering building after building, when I went into one that I'd been in countless times before, but this time, I saw something I hadn't before. Right when I least expected it, in one of the places I'd been to the most, I found the 3rd gym, meaning I had just the 2nd gym to find, the 4th Elite Four member, and Cynthia. But this gave me hope that there was actually some places I had missed, and that maybe I could beat this challenge after all. I did stream after stream looking for that final location that would bring me to the 2nd gym with little to no success, the only thing of note being that I went back to catch Dialga and Palkia, backtracking through almost the entire game, losing hope once again. But then I came across this building on Route 213, which led me to Route 228. And I had been here before, but the first time I didn't have a bike and couldn't get up the many different slopes, but now with a bike, I was able to move on through the route into the resort area, which didn't really have anything of interest, but after looking up the map for the route, I found out that there was a building that I hadn't been to yet. So I promptly headed to it, and inside was a Pokemon Center, which I was excited about just because I needed to heal. But upon entering the staircase to the right side, I found it. This is the 2nd gym. I can beat this right now. I had done it. I had essentially beaten the game, because now that I could beat all the gyms, I would be able to use every single HM move outside of battle, ensuring that there were no loading zones that I couldn't get to. And now that I knew it was possible, there was new life in this challenge. I raced through the rest of the gyms, finishing the 3rd, then the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, because as you can probably imagine, with a team of legendaries led by a level 80 Mew, the gym leaders didn't stand a chance. And now that I could use every HM I collected on my journey, it was time to finish things off by finding Lucian and Cynthia. I started by going back to Victory Road, as there were several places that I remembered seeing but not being able to get to because I needed rock climb. And now that I could use it outside of battle, I scaled the walls, and the first location I checked now that I had HMs was Eterna's City. I quickly began exploring every single building, finding things like the HM for Fly, when I walked into the Eterna City gym, leading me to Cynthia. But I wasn't done, because I needed to find the 4th Elite Four member when, at last, the building next to the Pokemon Center led me to Lucian. Now, with all the pieces of the puzzle, I just had to finish things off, flying back to Jubilife City on my starter Squirtle to beat the first Elite Four member who really didn't stand a chance, taking him down with just Mew alone. And as I flew around beating the 2nd and 3rd Elite Four members, I realized that all I needed to beat this challenge all along was hope, and confidence that it was actually even possible. After making it back to Eterna, I beat Lucian with ease, and on August 28th, 2023, a whole 476 days after I originally started this challenge, I walked into Cynthia's room, actually able to finally challenge her. And just like every battle before her, Mew swept her team, finally beating the game at long last. I am now the champion. Also, I just have to give a quick shout out to Point Crow's Warp Randomizer and the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, because this challenge absolutely wouldn't have been possible without them. Thanks for watching.